Oh, we're lucky to pick you.
That's what I told him. I said, thank you.
It's 10 o'clock. We'll call Sawyer County Administrative Committee meeting to order. Ask the clerk, call the roll, please.
Ron Kinsley,
Here.
Ron Buckholz,
Present.
Tom Duffy, John Regheimer,
Here.
Stacy Hessel.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Next item is pledge allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The meeting agenda, the agenda is set. Number 7, public comment. Miss Linda Zomer, please.
Good morning, Linda Zolmer, Edgewater property owner, resident of Birchwood. With New Year, and I don't know if everybody believes in New Year's resolutions, but one of the things that Sawyer County has been doing really well has been providing information for meetings. And it takes a lot of work on behalf of the people in IT and the clerk and other people to get attachments onto the agenda so that the public can follow along. I would imagine that also helps minimize the number of public records requests. But it would appear to me that over time that reports are being submitted late, which puts a lot of additional pressure on the people who have to upload that. So maybe keep in mind and maybe set some deadlines for staff reports to come in so they can be attached. I think the one thing that I noticed, especially goes back to public safety, there's been a lot of questions from the public and maybe amongst committee members about ambulance reporting. And the ambulance director made a report, but it was never turned in. So the public has questions. It'd be nice to be able to see that. And I understand with the new system, maybe that they can be added even after the meeting as an attachment. The other thing I wanted to mention is to maybe prioritize things for 2025 before taking on any new projects like citing a veterans memorial. There are some things that committees have not even addressed yet. Land Water Conservation Committee, which is down a couple members, are dealing with a new lake district. And I believe 2025 is the year that the update needs to be done to the Land and Water Resource Management Plan. And what is important for is once that's approved by DATCAP, that's a requirement of funding some of those conservation positions. I would also hope that the county would take a look at how it uses attorneys. And I'll use the animal control ordinance as an example. That was mostly rewritten in 2018, and it was gone over by outside counsel at that time. This last spring of 2024, the committee and the county board approved amendments that were pretty clear about nuisance animals and nuisance animal owners. And yet there seems to be a reluctance by the county to enforce that ordinance as well as zoning ordinances. And I wish there would be some discussion of, first of all, before you adopt an ordinance, if you have questions, ask that at that time. And then don't ask another attorney to rewrite that ordinance when it goes to be enforced. There's a lot of concerns, and I guess maybe that brings up another big effort for 2025, and that's pulling together towns to work with the county on zoning ordinance amendments and the zoning process. Again, that's a timing of materials for towns, applicants, neighbors, and the county to get that process right. So please take time to prioritize what it is that the county hopes to accomplish in 2025. And probably maybe above everything I just mentioned was emergency communications. There are some things that require a lot of thought and time before getting distracted with things that are maybe of significance but not as high a priority. Thank you.
Thank you. Liz, is there anybody? Thank you. Number 8, consider approval of the minutes of the previous meeting. It's been noted that there's an error on it, and we're making steps to correct the error. Mr. Tom Duffy was at the meeting.
Make a motion to approve the previous meeting's minutes with the correction of Mr. Duffy being present.
Motion by Ms. Hassel, second by Mr. Duffy to approve the minutes with the correction. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 9, appointment of board members of District 15. I've had no one step forward to communicate with me. I asked to put it on the agenda in case anybody else has had any communication with anybody else. I do have a person that I'm going to ask today if they're interested or not, but I'm just curious if anybody else had anybody. If not, we'll move forward and try to find somebody. Number 10, Veterans Honor Park, discussion, possible action. Mr. Alvarado.
Yeah, based on the outcome of the December board meeting, I could, well, there was a request to make sure this stayed on the administration committee agenda. Talked to the chair about making sure it was on there. At this point, nothing has happened since December. I mean, there's been some suggestions of sites, obviously, that you've either received yourselves or have passed along, but administration or veteran service, nobody staff-wise has taken any steps until we get some direction from the board or a committee of the board on how you want us to proceed and what do you want to do as next steps. The money was budgeted into the 25 budget or moved from the Resource Development Fund into a Veterans Honor Park line, but that's all at this point that has happened.
Is going back to the vote that failed, I think in hindsight, it's just a twist of words. I don't know if that helped or I think it hurt it, calling it a park. Can we call it something else? Because it seemed that there was a lot of defensive responses. At least I felt compelled to defend against people's concerns that there was no room to park, there was no room to picnic, there was no rooms to, and at least that's not what I envisioned it as. But, and I think if people think park, they're automatically thinking like, well, why the heck are you putting it in that slot? We need a grassy field and things like that. Does that make sense? I don't know if that caused confusion to a certain extent.
Ron was next.
Yeah, and does anybody go over and look at the town of Hayward, if they're talking about their location? I didn't. Shame on me, I haven't looked at it yet, but I was wondering if any more of these members here looked at that. And I'm also thinking maybe that might not be a good thing because election's coming up and it's gonna, the board might change and it might not be available. So that's just.
But that's kind of my point too, at the park. I think I know that area, the area they're talking about. It's not as visible as the other area we were talking about. If it's going to be a park where you want a picnic and grassy fields and it's a better site, but it's also not going to be seen as well either. And so I think I think it's, sometimes words can mean a lot more than we think. And I think the park really threw a curveball with people's vision of what it's supposed to be or was going to be. I think you had two different things. That's maybe the way to say it too. The Dairy Queen is a different concept in my eyes than putting over in Shoes Pond or Town of Hayward, things like that. Then no, that's what people want is a park, then okay, it makes sense. But
So I think that was very generous of the town of Hayward to offer that land, whether or not they had to have a special meeting because it was done inappropriately, but I think that encouraging each township to do their own park, maybe to honor each town member might be the better way, because if we start picking one town over another town, we just have to pick the best location, more so, and also construct what the premise of it is going to be. I think we're over ad hoc committeed as it is. So I'm just wondering if we, like maybe a couple of committee members work with the Veterans Service Office, to develop a best location, a best practice. I know that there's a lot of examples of different ideas, either on a large scale or a small scale. But to start a separate ad hoc, I think would be, it would be hard to justify spending that money on doing another meeting. I feel horrible doing that. But as far as next steps, you direct us. Like you said, that money was allocated. I think that the Veteran Service Office deals with the veterans. I do plan to attend the Veterans Association meeting this month for Sawyer County. So I think it's a Hayward Veterans Association, but it serves the whole county.
I'm wondering, has the city of Hayward ever thought about purchasing that over there? Was there any thought, why don't they pick it up?
That's a good question. I think, again, trying to be respectful of not taking things off the tax roll and costing more money. The city, when I've talked about doing something at Shoes Pond, their statement is they don't have the money. They already have enough nonprofits on that aren't paying property tax. So their statement to me has always been they don't have the finances. So I don't know that they would be willing to do that. It's never been a conversation. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I hear you, Stacy, but my thing is that we're trying to get an area for our veterans, which everybody's for the veterans. But then it would just be sprucing up for the city of Hayward with them putting no contribution in it, nothing on it. That's my concern. They won't help.
And possibly we have to bring somebody from the city to the table then, if we do a planning committee with the Veteran Service Office, maybe that's something to have that discussion about. Thank you.
I think we should have a committee other than this group to decide where we want it and what should be there. And I think the cities, their problem with the Dairy Queen is their problem. We don't have to spend that kind of money to solve their problems, I don't think.
But I don't mean to interrupt, I'm sorry, but if we did it at Shoes Pond like was requested, it would still be the city's problem. So that's where I'm bringing somebody from the table from the city, if that's where we're deciding, because it's been the best location for the county. It's been the best location for the Hayward School District for the school. So Hayward is the mecca of our county, I don't mean to be rude to any other location, but that's where it's going to be the most visible. That's why Spooner was selected for Washburn County, because that's where the most visible. So keeping that in mind, I mean, committee or not, I think the Veteran Service Office should be a part of it, and then the Veterans Association.
I think even the issue of what we want there is it going to be just a flag and some statutes, or is it going to be a place where you can have a picnic and meetings and whatever? I don't think we even have decided that yet.
Well, just real quick, not to be redundant on what I said, that's the other, this struck a nerve surprisingly to me, but one of the second most feedback I received was, well, we don't know what this thing is. You're just looking to spend a bunch of money. We have no idea what it is, which goes back to my earlier comment it was kind of left up to everybody's imagination of what they think a park should look like. What I think it should look like is probably different than everybody on here, but you had that one piece, like, I don't know if is that inappropriate to share? Like, this is what we kind of thought it would look like, that one plan that you had?
Well,
Because that might change some people's view of it. Otherwise we're left with, I envision playing softball there. I envision having a picnic there. I envision having tons of parking there.
Mhm.
It was kind of left up to everybody's imagination, and sometimes for the worst, I guess.
We're gonna have Mr. Alvarado.
Everybody's tracking right where I was going. And I was gonna say, like, you look at, how you scope these things, it's the who, what, where, when, and why. And we kind of let out with the what and the where, and maybe should have started with the why to get to the what. And then that leads you to the where. So, but it's who, and I think that's maybe the first question is, right now, the resolution that set aside the money and dealing with the site listed the administration committee. So, I think you were kind of heading in this direction of who should be putting together the why to lead to the what and then get to the where. But I think the benefit of hindsight and feedback, that's what my take is, that we had a where and kind of a general what, but like you said, is it a park? Is it a plaza? Is it a gathering space? Is it a reflection space? I don't know that we had the vision laid out well enough to justify the rest of it. So, but I would say do you want to keep it in this committee or do you want a smaller group of this committee or I think there's options for what you do to put this together.
Well, I think we should have a committee. I agree, to take a look at this, other than this committee. Have the ad hoc committee or whatever you want to call it, do research on whatever and whatever they come up with, and then bring it back to this committee, and then we can forward it on to the county board.
So Ron, are you proposing that Andy make up that committee, or who would make up that committee? Like, would he?
Maybe Andy and Mr. Kinsley,
Okay.
because he's county board chair, and he's also chair of this committee. And then Andy, yeah,
Mhm.
and then get some of the veteran people involved in.
And I would want our maintenance department involved, because it's not just the cost of whatever we develop, it's then the cost going forward. So we have to keep that in mind, with all of our decisions. But I think maintenance would be a good one to bring to the table to say, what can we maintain once we build it?
I know you are a big proponent of this. I mean, are the veterans even wanting this in general? Whether at least the feedback we heard at the meeting was they seemed to not, the veterans that spoke didn't seem to be too keen on it to begin with. Now, I don't say they speak for all veterans. But how much does the veteran community even want this? Or do they even care?
So I think it was just the proposed location. If, in my view of what was said, it was the proposed location, not that it wasn't wanted. Obviously, some people in the crowd are against it and will be forever against it, depending on who brings it forward or whatever the case may be. But I think, I don't think that it was, we want this, but slow it down and find out what the veterans want, what the community wants, what's the best practice. People, and I'll reiterate, people complain that government takes too long, but in this case, I will self-admit that it should have been slowed down and more thought involved, but it was just opportunity coming forward and, trying to just make the right decisions based on, $250,000 is a lot of money, but it's really not when you're building, when flagpoles are $5,000 a piece and you look at the cost that is going to go out the window right away. And the purchase of the land, whatever case may be. And it would be great if we could do a partnership with the city, have somebody from their council come and say what you need, their public works director, things like that maybe we're missing some spots that would be good opportunities as well.
Nicole, do you have anything you'd like to share?
So I think I just listened to the meeting after it took place, but I know, and Gary's not here to speak, but Gary has been very neutral on the subject, and our place is always to serve our veterans first and then serve the county board. We serve the county. But I think you make a very good statement. And what I took away from that meeting was that the veterans felt, like Stacy said, confused at first, I think, because they didn't understand where it came from, because it was just pushed forward. So like you said, giving everyone first an understanding of what the vision is, so they have clarity of, is it a memorial and a place to sit and have reflection? Or is it a park where people are coming together and having more of this family aspect? Or are we taking the funds and doing something different with them? So I think getting your clear vision and then bringing it back to the veterans. And I think it's great whether it's getting our office to partner with you, but then maybe even talking to the American Legion or different heads of veteran organizations and coming together. And that way, more people are involved in the process, I think would be a way to unify the veterans with this project. So it is more everybody having a voice is the way to go. And
being responsible with, I know that some of the veterans have Sense said that they want the old Quick Trip location, which is valued at like 1.2 million. That would be detrimental to the city of Hayward. Even if Quick Trip donated it. So I think we have to just be responsible, and going forward, I'll make a note to not be so fast.
And I'm not a political, I'll be the first to say that politics are not my expertise. But I think most veterans would tell you that for them, it's not politics either. It's about them, and it's about their family, and so involve them, find out what their vision is, and then that, like, I don't think they care about any of that. It's just about present your vision to them and listen to their voice, and then the rest will come together.
This is really taking on like a life that I never expected it to take on as far as an issue. And I guess I'm taking up a lot of time talking about it too, but what if we just paused it for indefinitely? Who's going to care? So what, and who cares?
I don't think it's an option. It's been put in the 2025 budget, and I think people would care. I mean, there was enough attention brought to it that if we do nothing now, that's irresponsible as well. So you're saying to put it back, to not allocate it, to rescind
Just
that.
kind of put it on the shelf for now, and I don't know if anybody would even be bringing it up again. If we bring it up again, it's going to heat things up again. No,
Yeah,
but maybe less than last time, but it's just something that was, I think, meant to be a good thing that kind of really, I mean, editorials in the paper, people rallying in the crowd. I mean, I was really surprised by it. I wanted it, but now I'm like, well, I mean, how bad do you really want it? I mean, that's just a thought. I don't know, is it a make or break to do? If we didn't do anything, would they be upset? You think they would be, is what you're saying?
I don't think they would be, Mr. Righeimer, and I kind of agree with you on that. Let it set for a while. We can always take a look at it in a year or two. Let it calm down. Maybe something will come up that we'd be more interested in.
Why don't you make a motion to that effect and let's move it on?
Okay, I'll make that motion we can't do that.
No, well,
It's not discussion
Yeah,
or action, I mean, is it?
we have act.
Oh, okay.
but it was like it was action to find out what we were doing next for planning. I didn't realize we were.
I guess I'll make a motion to, I guess I want to see how word, not to go on with the Veterans Memorial location and planning at this time. Is that enough, Liz? Until future? Or to be determined, yeah. I mean, it gives us time to look at, maybe something will come forward, or somebody will come forward, and maybe the city will decide to come forward with something, which I think they should have a part of it, but it doesn't seem like they want to get really involved with it. They want maybe the county to act on everything on it, but I believe we should just table it for now and until future time.
So Mr. Buckles has made a motion to table. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, there's a second by Mr. Duffy. Discussion. I don't want to table it. I want it to stay on the agenda. I want us as an administrative committee to work on this. We can invite maintenance to the meeting. We can invite veterans to the meeting. We can invite other veterans that came to our last board meeting and spoke very highly of them not knowing what was going on. And I was really set back by that because, there's veterans on this board that knew what was going on and they had a choice to vote for or against it. So yes, we didn't touch every veteran in Sawyer County. You're never going to touch every veteran in Sawyer County. But I would like to leave it on the agenda for a month or two and see if we can move forward with something. And if we can't, well, then we can reconsider. That's where I'm at presently.
I think it's premature to table it because the conversation really has just started.
But that's okay because everybody's entitled to what they think. So,
Well, it doesn't mean just because we table it now, it can't keep going on the agenda. Right?
That's
Right,
correct.
Andy? Liz?
I mean, if you're asking me, you have the money set aside, what about leaving the money there in case another great opportunity comes up in the next 12 months? You don't wanna just get rid of the whole topic.
Tabling's not killing it.
No, tabling's not killing it. It's just pausing it.
Yeah.
It's not dead.
Stacy, or something.
So I want clarification. So pausing it to not, so if next month it's on the agenda, are we going to be having the same discussion and saying, well, how do we plan? So pausing it means not, so we're keeping it on, but we're just not developing a committee at this time? Is that what you're saying with your motion? Well, no, but the fact remains that it'll still stay on the agenda. So that's what I'm saying. Are you pausing just the committee formulation efforts of the project? Are you pausing that? But it's going to stay.
Project, but I mean, if we are gonna go on with this at some future, I still think we should have the committee formed to do it, not just this committee. Have a committee of the Veterans Association or and some more veterans, and then whatever they do here, the janitor.
Maintenance.
Maintenance, yeah, I couldn't think of that easy
We should probably have
word.
the natives involved also.
What's that?
We should have the natives involved also. If it's a county project.
There you go.
So if we're just tabling it till next month, I don't have a problem with that. I'm just wondering where we go from here. If it's on the agenda next month, and I mean, we've taken a lot of time to talk about it today, more than we've talked about a lot of other important events. But I just think that I want clarification of what you mean when you say let's table it. So what are we tabling? Are we tabling just the planning part of it? Are we, so if somebody comes forth, if somebody comes forth between now and next meeting, you're saying, hey, just bring it to next meeting?
No, I'm saying table it. Somewhere in the future, that ain't very good.
Do
but-
you have to put if we're pressing the pause, do we have to put how long that pause is? Do we have to state that, or is it just, can it be left open?
So if it's from a meeting procedural standpoint, if it's a actual motion to table, it doesn't have to have a timeline, but it can have a timeline. You could say motion to table until next month, it'll be back on the agenda next month
Motion to table.
indefinitely. And then it would be basically at the chair's discretion to put it back on the agenda, but a committee member could go to the chair and ask for it to be put back on the agenda. I mean, and that's from a procedural standpoint. I mean, you could make a motion just to put it back on the agenda in 60 days. Or not take any action today.
So can I add that to my motion? The timeline, like of 60 days?
Can I ask this?
Yes, go ahead.
Nicole has something she wants to contribute this.
Oh, yeah.
Turn your line on, please.
Just a perspective of, I do think you had so many people that did speak out that just taking it off the agenda completely, I feel like might not be the best route either. I think to just give it more time and that clear vision to bring back, I think might be.
So your motion originally just to table it, the discussion with the chairs.
Right. But and we could, like I say, we could still put that on the agenda every month. And if there's nothing to discuss or anything new, just move on to the next agenda item. Right? Or no?
Yep, that's correct.
I mean, we don't have to keep on going over and over and over everything if nobody's got anything new to bring to the committee.
I will also share, I do plan on going down to the Veteran Center when they have their coffee on their first Wednesday of the month and communicate with some of the veterans is my plan. I have not got that done yet, but I would like to do that. Maybe I can get some input that way also,
Sure.
It's really fun.
if that helps.
Call the vote.
Yep,
So now we need a vote.
yep. So we have a motion by Mr. Buckles, second by Mr. Duffy to table. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Let's be silent, like, that's fine. So motion carries at this time. But that doesn't mean it won't be on the agenda next month. So we'll see where we go. We'll see what kind of input we get. And thank you for your valuable time discussing this matter. Number 11, Veteran Service Department report. Good morning again.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. So we have our budget performance report attached. And for our office report, December, we had 489 phone calls, 777 letters, emails, faxes, and 202 office visits. Gary has attached a workload perspective that shows the increase we had in from 2023 and 2024, excuse me. So we did have an increase, which was great to show, and I felt good and justified that he needed me, so felt good. For 2024, our office submitted 226 disability claims and received retroactive payment of $490,721.60, which were decided in the veterans' favor. From 2023 to 2024, we had an increase of 16 claims and $89,200. For the La Crosse Vet Center, which we partner with, in December, we co-managed and hosted 3 individual and 1 group counseling sessions. And we did our monthly coffee and conversation, which we do the first Wednesday of each month. This month we did yesterday because we pushed it off. Social media, we had 2 new page followers and an average reach of 813 with 60 content interactions and 51 visits. Our training is up to date. And we are currently collecting Valentines for veterans. The Wisconsin Department of Veteran Affairs does it, and they submit to veterans' homes throughout the state of Wisconsin. But we're actually collecting for nursing homes here in our area. So if you guys want to pass the word that we're collecting. And then with our surplus, we give them to the VA clinic here in town, and they hand them out on Valentine's Day to all of our veterans. So if you could spread the word.
Do you have something that we can send to the schools? Because I know that the elementary school would love to do that.
So we actually collected artwork from them on Veterans Day, and I'm stuffing the Valentines that we get with the artwork from Veterans Day. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
for what
you.
do. Okay. Anybody else have any questions for them?
No. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you, Gary.
Thank you very much.
Number 12, Information Technology Department, Mr. Coulson.
Morning. So Andy asked department heads they could give an annual summary. So I thought I'd just list our top projects that Alex and I have been working on the last year. We spent tons of time on card pass readers for the courthouse, the sheriff's department, and also a lot of cameras needed to be replaced and installed. So that was most of last year. We did a lot of that, so it appeared in a lot of our reports. AV, we had to tweak and upgrade the boardrooms and boardroom here, the court branches as well as the small courtroom. So we think everybody seems to like the way the AV is working right now. Those are the big things we worked on. A few other things were panic buttons, software rollouts, and a few other things there. Just the next page then for projects that are going on right now. We're going to be adding Thirst Rooming House into Novus. They wanted to be able to track the permits there. We think we can have that in place by the time they need it, early spring. So that's being programmed right now. Last a few committee meetings, we talked about the forms automation permits. It got off to a little slow start because we had to change our way we're doing the payment provider. Our former treasurer asked us if we could use our existing payment processor, which turned out to be a good idea. And so that's just about ready to roll out. We think it'll happen this month yet. So we'll start with John Pino's forms for highway and then branch out to other departments as needed, and probably including a tourist rooming house permit and then zoning. A few other projects that'll be starting up here, but otherwise, that's what I've got unless you've got some questions.
Mike, I have a question, and you've probably heard it 100 times. So people can pay with a credit card, who pays that percent?
That will be the person buying the permit. It'll be tacked on as an additional fee. So if you're buying like a $20 permit, the fee will be somewhere in the neighborhood, $2 or $3. We'll get that worked out here very shortly.
Thank you. Thank you for all you do.
I'll just add that we discussed that at length initially because we were talking about who was going to be processing our payments. Point and Pay that we're using already has that set up with like tax payments. You pay the transaction fee in addition to your taxes. But we also want to encourage people to do as much business online with the county as they can. So we also don't want the fee to be deterrent. But it's still within government, county governments that are doing business online, having the transaction fee separate and paid by the person applying for the permit is still predominantly the way to go, but might be something in the future we discuss about incorporating those costs into the permit fee structure. I mean, in some cases it's going, I don't see this a lot, but you know, you have a online permit, but then some places are now charging counter fees. So if they come into the counter, they pay extra fee as well. But it is the whole effort to go online and have information online and permits is to reduce the operating costs of the county and also make it convenient for the public. So, but we did discuss the whole who's paying the transaction fee considerably with putting this online.
I'm just, from my own experience, I'm
Yep.
just shocked that people would spend that money on it, but they do every day.
You look at it, just an example, a lot of the counties, we don't do campgrounds here, but like Washburn, Barron, Rusk all do campgrounds. And most of them put their campground reservation systems online now. And there's a permit fee above the transaction fee is on top. And all of those counties had their campground reservations just spike incrementally because people want to be able to book online and have it convenient for them. So they're willing to pay that fee.
Thank you, Mike. Number 13, human resource report.
Good morning. Have my report. The only thing I have two things to add. First of all, my Criterion software, the stuff that we had to move to for our applicant tracking is working, but I have to work with Mike because it's got an issue. But other than that, it's going pretty smooth. And second of all, we do have an update regarding getting payment back from Deputy or Mr. Schick. Andy, did you want to give that update? So we've worked with him and entered into a payment arrangement with him of $300 a month and 4% interest. And that will start as soon as we get the signed agreements back. So a good outcome.
There's some money up front too, wasn't it?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, $2,000 upfront. Yes, thank you.
Good job. Thank you. Anybody else have any questions for Rose?
Thank you, Rose.
Thank you, Rose. Number 14, County Clerk Department. Liz?
Hi, this first part of this report is Next Request. That's our public records request software. The software generates this report when you put the parameters in. So this is just slightly updated from the one you saw before with a few more additions for the month of December. The main takeaway I get when I look at this is $4,133 of staff time spent and not much collected back. Now, some of this does, there's a statutory $50 minimum, and right now we're asking people to pay. So I don't know if we can reduce the staff time spent somehow by changing how we have people pay as they request these forms. And then the other thing I guess I would say is most of this is the sheriff's department, and it's a huge burden on them. The software is allowing us to track that. So you can see here, sheriff's department, that's the number of their requests. So county clerk had 47. Sheriff's Department has 175 by December. Some of those are easy, like traffic tickets, but some of them are difficult and they need redaction. So this is a pretty big report, but overall, this software is working well. Do you have any questions?
Not at this time, thank you.
Okay, the second part of this report is our monthly dog licenses, marriage licenses, plat books, and elections. So these numbers haven't changed that much either since the time you saw this before. We do have the new plat books. They're being sold at a pretty steady rate. We take online orders for that. Dog licenses are also coming in a lot online now. Some of the town treasurers have discontinued selling dog licenses, so we're seeing more being sold by animal control and through us at the county. Marriage licenses, we do a fair number of those. That's a nice part of the job. We do have a February primary we just found out about, so that's in the works right now. All of that is due tomorrow at 5, but from the county to place the ballot orders. I did want to thank maintenance and IT for getting our offices set up while I'm on the topic here for us. So that's about everything I can think of. The transition is going really well. Laura Bruce is great. We're working pretty steady in there now, getting caught up, and we're going to help Brian Lehner get settled in. Do you have any more questions?
What are the plat books selling for dollar amount per book?
They're $30. If you order online, it's $39 for shipping. And if they're just for someone in the county departments, they're $15. That's our cost.
Thank you. All right, number 15, county administrator's report.
All right, I'll run through, see you, John. I'll run through, I guess, some of the highlights. You've got the HR report. Just reiterate what I said last month. We're in a pretty good position as of late. Our deputy, we had hired our open position, or open deputy position. The court services position is the one that was created for this year. That is being recruited for right now, as is the zoning tech and the real property lister. The real property lister, we've been recruiting for a few months. That's not going to be an easy job to fill, but staff in that area, our other real property lister in GIS, and our land information officer have encouraged us. We're working with them, but really looking for the right person to fill that position, and they feel comfortable being able to handle it in the interim. But other than that, highway, all of the places we were having some staffing issues over the last few years, really has improved. We do have 3 of our existing AEMTs who have passed their paramedic licensure and are going through their onboarding now with us to become full-time paramedics. So they will be, about a month-long process to get them fully integrated. And then we're going to be filling their AEMT spots. So we're getting an improvement there in the ambulance staffing, which will help have the additional conversations about response times and locations and that type of thing. Lake District formation, just want to highlight that the Land Water Forestry Committee yesterday did approve sending the report from the hearing that was held in November to the board this month. That's for the Callahan and Mud Lake District. And then they also did approve the findings of fact and a recommendation that's going to the board as well. So Anticipate a lot of public comment, and I expect, if you haven't already, you'll be receiving public correspondence regarding that issue. There is, and I'll get it out to the board hopefully yet today. We do have a web page set up on the county website that has the petition items, the correspondence, the petitions that were filed. We did create a map internal through our GIS that shows it's somewhat interactive. It shows the boundaries of the Lake District, the parcels that are included, which parcels had petition signatures, which parcels have had requests from those owners to be removed from the district, so that you can kind of get more of a visual presentation as well. The committee, Land Water, did vote to remove one parcel from the district that would change the boundary. There was an issue with the legal description that was included for the district, so that one single parcel is recommended removal. They did not take any action on the other requests for removal and are leaving that in the hands of the board for consideration. Nothing new at the airport. Airport and maintenance. While no snow is not great for our tourism in the county, it does give us opportunities to work on other projects and departments that deal with snow removal. So highway is out doing a lot of brushing again this winter. Same at the airport, and then maintenance is working on projects within the courthouse that have been a long time coming. Ambulance, in addition to the paramedics, we're just working on continuous improvement there. We do have a meeting next week on January 14th. John Fremmel and I will be attending. This was at the request initially from Round Lake, but the towns of Hunter, Spider Lake, and Hayward are part of the request to look at improved service in that area of the county. So they did schedule a meeting at the town of Round Lake Town Hall for the 14th for us to discuss that. The Economic Development and Extension Committee did approve another BEAD endorsement for Novato. That'll be on the county board agenda next month. We have over 5,000 remaining locations or rooftops and businesses throughout the county that are unserved or considered unserved by broadband based on what's already been improved and what's under projects in progress right now. With the two endorsements, the Mosaic one last month and the Novato one this month, we're going to be probably at about 2,000 locations left to get served. Those could still be addressed by future rounds of BEAD, but that's out of where we started. That's a lot of areas of the county are now being served. The joint meeting of Public Safety and the Economic Development Committee, I don't think was as fruitful as we hoped, but where we left it is that Buck Tussle has 1 month until next month to provide a proposal that can be considered by the county. And then GenCom and Buck Tussle are working together on that relative to the locations of where the towers need to go. GenCom is still ready to go. They would be the ones with whatever route we take that would be responsible for the actual radio network and the broadcasting and backhauling of all the transmissions. So whenever we get locations set, they're ready to go. And that would have to come to the board for approval because it would require a decision on how to fund the project. With last year's budget, we had proposed borrowing for it or funding it that way. That's probably what our recommendation would be when we're ready to move ahead on it. And then we are still communicating with WOJB on the use of their tower, as that's a critical location for the radio network. Nothing really new on CJCC, just that there's a lot going on there that we've covered before. I think like Liz said, the transition with our new elected officials has gone well. It's fortunate that even though we have 3 new ones, there's a little bit of continuity in every office. Liz has been on board for a little while as the deputy. Rachel's moving back into an office she was in before. Brian's got 2 good staff people that he's learning from. And I've promised them to stay out of their hair for at least a few weeks and let them get going and lean on their staffs. And the state associations also provide some connections for them to work with other counties to learn their jobs. But I think it's going well, as far as I've heard. Already talked about the state budget process and WCA and things they're going to prioritize. You heard it a little bit from Mr. Colson, but I did ask all department heads, all departments to produce some sort of year-end report to provide to their committees to give a good summation of what they've accomplished this last year and, quantitate as much of that as possible and then give some perspective on where they're going in the coming year. That should help get the board more informed on what's happening in each department. Gave them the flexibility to produce that and present that however they want. But that's just, I think, going forward, we want to make sure everybody is knowledgeable about all of our departments and what they're doing. Two other things I've mentioned before that we're back working on. We are working to establish some office hours in the winter area, probably in the Waldo Center. There's an office there, and we're working with a couple agencies within HHS, Economic Support, ADRC, Veteran Service says they're interested. So we're open to establish a day like Tuesdays of having a county office have office hours in the winter area on a pilot basis. So hopefully we'll get that scheduled here in the next month or two and start that out and see how that works. And then cameras, in addition to security cameras, you heard Mr. Colson talk about the number of cameras we're doing here, getting them into our satellite facilities, which is surprising how often we're looking at archive photos or archive video to find something. Beyond that, though, if you haven't heard, there's going to be more cameras around the county. So the LCO Police Department is putting up what they call flock cameras, and they're putting in right-of-ways. These are essentially license plate readers that people who have warrants or people that are missing, they can plug. And these are connected statewide or even beyond the state. They plug license plates in. If they find that license plate, the authorities get an alert. The county is in line to get 4 of these, and the Hayward Police Department are getting these as well. So be another monitoring. The questions have been asked, so I'm bringing this up because they're not there to, we're not writing speeding tickets off of them or doing, other things that are active enforcement with them. These are more for monitoring. And then Highway has also received funding from the state to implement a camera network for them. These are a different brand, but essentially we have these now located around the county. So remotely, our operations people can look to see temperature, weather conditions, road conditions through these cameras. So it's just another efficiency that's happening there, which I think is good to everybody be aware of. I think that's it for now.
And on security cameras, how long do we keep those records?
90 days is the default. They can bookmark them and save them indefinitely.
Number 16, Board Appointment Committee updates. Anybody have anything? Stacy's been in Madison.
I've been in Madison. I think that this session or this year will be interesting. There's a lot of legislation being discussed on obviously mental health facilities up north. You have, I think, 4 northern representatives on joint finance. So hopefully that will help get us seen up north.
Is there any way you can persuade Governor Evers to drive on Highway 2770? I didn't think. Thank you. Future agenda items, if anybody has anything in the future, please bring it forward. We'll certainly get it on the agenda. And correspondence reports, meeting adjourned. Thank you for your valuable time and enjoy every day. Evers on it comes up.